Officials in Ukraine are stepping up efforts to evacuate people in areas flooded after the destruction of the massive Kakhovka dam earlier this week. Kyiv and many international organizations hold Russia responsible for destroying the dam. As water levels begin to drop, a new threat has emerged. Concerns are now growing about landmines dislodged by the floods.
Officers with the National Guard continue to comb the Ukrainian-controlled city of Kherson in inflatable boats, helping people trapped by the floodwaters get to safety. When I woke up, the water in the apartment was up to my knees. It just kept coming. Floorboards started going up. Our sofas, chests, furniture, chairs, all floated away. The debris from Kherson is already turning up more than 150 kilometers away, in places like Ukraine's port city of Odessa.
Hello from Odessa. You can see Odessa port there. This is the famous beach, Dolphin. And now you see that in Odessa, almost 100 miles from Dnieper and from Kherson, the part of the house, just the part of the house, just watch it, this, is taken by the sea to the shore, to the beach. Just imagine this. I mean, what a scale of catastrophe. 100 miles.
The surge of water from the dam breach has also dislodged landmines planted on the banks of the Dnipro River, which forms a de facto front line between Russian and Ukrainian forces.
Water, as you will know, is a non-compressible matter, and the force coming down is just tremendous. So mines can, depending on their shape and what they're made of, can float for kilometers downstream. Particularly plastic-bodied mines can float longer, and that's a major concern now these days.
He says the floodwaters won't damage or deactivate the landmines, meaning they could pose a grave danger to civilians for decades to come, especially as the waters begin to recede. They could be hidden by debris in farmers' fields, backyards, and roads across a vast area of the country.
And for more, let's talk to our correspondent, Sonia Falniker, who is in the Mykolaiv region right now, which is, as we can clearly see, Sonia, also impacted by the floods. Sonia, what is the situation where you are?
That's right. I'm in the greater Mykolaiv region in a village which, as you can see, has been flooded. The waters remained here for at least 3 days, the farmer told us. Now, this is basically an agricultural area. This region is home to much of Ukraine's fertile agricultural lands. The fields here, the farmers here grow barley, wheat, sunflower mainly. And one of the concerns, of course, here is that the farmers here relied on the Kakhovka dam mainly for irrigation. That water from that dam was used to irrigate their fields. And now the big concern, of course, is that those vital irrigation systems, will cease to function. And the big question is whether that will now lead to crop failures. Ukraine's agricultural minister has already said that it is likely to have a catastrophic impact on farming.
And what about evacuation efforts? Is the water receding? Are people staying, or are the evacuation efforts still ongoing?
Well, we're hearing that the flood waters are receding in some areas of southern Ukraine. But in this week we were in the city of Kherson where we were filming. The problem here is that, of course, evacuations are taking place, but there are attacks happening at the same time. We were in Kherson filming a major evacuation operation at a crossing which was completely submerged, and there was Russian shelling there. We managed to get to safety, but others weren't so lucky. There were 8 people injured, and the same thing happened again yesterday in Kherson with 3 people injured in Russian shelling, including a young girl. And I think this is one of the big problems that, carrying out a humanitarian operation in an active war zone is turning out to be really tricky. Rescue workers have said that they have repeatedly come under fire. And the other big problem, of course, which is another war-linked hazard here, is the possibility of floating mines. Rescue workers have told us that officials are now warning them that floating naval mines which have come dislodged because of the floods could potentially explode if they collided with debris or even rescue boats.
Right. I mean, what can and what needs to be done, Sonia? What are the most pressing needs for the people in the area right now?
Well, I think as floodwaters recede in certain places, I think the extent of the devastation will now become clear. One of the biggest concerns, of course, is access to clean drinking water. This is something that we saw in Kherson as well. Aid groups really focusing on handing out bottled water, jerry cans, even water purification tablets. And that's because, of course, the Kakhovka Dam supplied much of the drinking water supply to southern Ukraine. President Zelensky has warned potentially that hundreds of thousands of people could be affected. And the fear here now is also contamination, that the water here could be contaminated with pollutants, with industrial oil that has leaked from that destruction of the hydroelectric plant and other toxins. The UN has warned of a potential outbreak of cholera. There is fear of waterborne diseases. So I think that is one of the biggest problems.
All right, Sonia Falnica there reporting for us live from Mykolaiv region in Ukraine. Sonia, thank you so much.
Thank you.